Hello, I'm Kevin J. N. Hughes, joined by Sarkis Gekchan and our friend Thanasi Harris, and he's a really awesome brother who I've had the pleasure of engaging with on TikTok for a while now. And I wanted to bring him over here because he's very knowledgeable about Roman Catholicism, and I wanted him to kind of help out with the apologetics with regards to not just Rome, but just in general. And but I wanted him to have an opportunity to tell his story first, because it is truly an amazing story, and I've been enjoying talking to him. But without further ado, let's go ahead and begin with a word of prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, and on those in the tombs bestowing life. Glory to you, O Lord, glory to you, O heavenly King, the Comforter, the Spirit of truth. You are in all places, filling all things, treasury of good gifts and giver of life. Come and abide in us and cleanse us from all impurity and save our souls, O good one. Lord, we ask for your Holy Spirit to be with and to guide us, to bring glory to your name, and to help us to say only the words that you would have us say. Bless this time together. Bless our friendship and fellowship to bring glory and honor to you, and bless our discussion. Make us worthy and cause that everything that we discuss would draw people to your one holy Catholic and Apostolic Orthodox Church. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right. So, Thanasi, do you want to just kind of take it away telling your story?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's gonna be a long ride on this one, so we'll start from the beginning. I grew up Roman Catholic my whole life. I went to Catholic school for a little bit. Actually, I got kicked out of Catholic school because they said, "quote unquote," I was too mean. Uh, uh, I boxed my whole life. I was very competitive. I was a national champion. And when I was 14, I started to race BMX bikes. Well, when I was 14, I flipped over and shattered my neck and broke my neck and got
Oh my
paralyzed from the
goodness.
neck down. I shattered my C3, C4, C5, severed my spinal cord, and doctors let alone said, hey, he's not going to make it. Probably, told my family pretty much plan his funeral. I died 4 times on the way to the hospital, and I remember being in the trauma room, and the last thing I remember is they had a Catholic priest and the nuns come in and they read my last rites. One of the scariest times are, being 14 years
Mm-hmm.
old, just pretty much thinking I'm going to die. I mean, I told the doctor, I remember said, please just don't let me die. And truly, God was there for me. I mean, no matter what I was right then, God had my back on this one. I was in the ICU for about 3 months, and I was in the hospital altogether for about 2 years, in rehab, living down in St. Louis at a rehab center. Well, this will kind of make sense later on in the story when I talk about my conversion to Orthodoxy. Well, throughout that time, they said, even after I got a surgery and stuff, hey, he's going to make it, but he's going to be pretty much a vegetable, is what I would be. And, me being the hard headed kid, I'm like, that's not going to happen, kind of thing. And I just kept pushing, kept pushing, and kept pushing. And after I got out of rehab, I finally came back home, and I was just always pushing so hard to get back walking. But the kicker was, I always had God on a second shelf. He never was really there. It was me, me, me. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Well, fast forward my life about till about 5 years ago, actually. I went to the hospital and I well, actually started to backtrack. Been doing really good. My legs are doing well. I'm almost walking. Well, I get sick and I go to the hospital and they found out that I have cancer in my lungs. I have
Oh no.
stage 2 lung cancer. Yes. And I'm like, man, what do I do, kind of thing. And my body's too weak to even take chemo or radiation because, over the years of being injured and paralyzed from the neck down, my immune system isn't too hot. Well, by the grace of God, things are starting to look good, Well, I fell and hurt my hip. So I went back to the hospital and they found a black spot on my hip. Now
Oh my goodness.
I was diagnosed with stage 4 multiple melanoma, which is bone cancer. And they're like, hey, Thanasi, you got 6 months left to live. Like, just, you got to figure it out, man. I'm like, no way. My wife and everybody's behind me, and I'm just like, I'm a wreck. I've been pushing so hard. I'm almost, I'm considered one of the worst spinal cord injuries in the world with the best recovery. There's nobody that's ever had this high of an injury with this much damage and has walked and got to where I got.
Oh my goodness.
I never questioned God and said, God, why me kind of thing. But I kind of just sat there and I'm like, what is going on, God? Like, what is going on? Well, me being me, I've never done anything bad in my life. I turned to drugs. And I did. I mean, when I turned to drugs, I turned hardcore to drugs. Not like just dab when I was trying to kill myself. I didn't want to live. I was so tired, man. I was like, I've been pushing and pushing and pushing. And literally, I pushed my wife away. I pushed my whole family away. Everybody's behind me. I'm like, I don't really care no more. And my younger brother, now who is a monk, his name is Father Krisharimo. This is when he was still Protestant, and he would always come to the house. He's like, let me read you the Bible. And I said, I don't care. I don't want to hear about it. I'm just, let me get high and just do what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
My chair, I was pretty much just deteriorating. I was just doing so much drugs, it wasn't even funny. And I mean, it was a wreck, man. It was so bad. I thank God that my wife stood by my back and stuff. Well, I remember it was Thanksgiving night, and I was at home by myself, and I lost all my money. I lost everything I had. I lost all my drugs, everything. I had nothing, and I was in really bad withdrawal.
Oh my goodness.
I fell out of my bed, and I can't walk. I can barely move. I'm so deteriorated for not doing anything, for so many drugs. And I remember I begged God, and I said, and I did too. I might cry. I said, I'm sorry. I quit. Not quit on myself, but I quit. Whatever you want me to do, I'm putting everything in your hands. I was like, please help me. I'm begging you. I said, God, just help me. And I remember I got my phone and I called my dad. I said, I need your help. You got to come get me. And I'm talking, I pulled a gun on my dad. Like I didn't want to, and that's where demonic started. I'm kind of rambling on, but I'll get back to that part.
No, you're not rambling at all.
I remember I called my dad. I was like, Dad, I'm sorry. I need your help. And my dad has been there for me since day one. My dad gave up a multi-million-dollar company to be with me in the hospital the whole time and gave everything up. And I remember I got in the hospital and, they're like, you might not make it. I weighed like 88 pounds. And I figure a guy like me, my average weight's about 150. And I was in the hospital for about 3 months. Started to get myself together. I was having a lot of demonic attacks. I didn't really understand that yet. And trying to work things out with my wife. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm changing. I'm changing. Well, I started to go to church with my brother a little bit. We was kind of, going to non-denominationals, got baptized there. And actually, before I got clean, I went to my brother with a non-denominational church and got baptized. And then I went and got high after I got baptized.
Oh my goodness.
That's how bad I was. Fast forward after me, now I'm getting out of the hospital, I'm getting myself clean. And, my brother we started going to a Calvinist church, and it's called the Covenant. Well, we're there and I loved it, but things, they didn't feel right. It just, things didn't kind of click. You know what I'm talking, it's not there.
Right.
They confess, the creed and talk about, I believe in one baptism, stuff like that. And they take what they call Holy Communion, but they think it's a symbol, right?
Right.
The more you look into the Bible, it's like, well, this don't work. This doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
So I remember I was sitting with my brother, and we'd always talk about the faith. He'd kind of read the Bible to me, because even me, I didn't really know how to even read the Bible. I was scared. Actually, I was actually scared to read the Bible because I didn't want to read it the wrong way. And I remember my brother kind of was believing like, we're kind of predestined. I was like, well, that doesn't make sense, because what about free will?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. Well, fast forward a little bit, and we're sitting in my kitchen one night. It's like 3 or 4 in the morning. And I asked him, I was like, where did this begin? Where did this all start? Where did Christ have his apostles go. Where did the apostles establish a church at? I was like, I knew there had to be one. And me growing up Catholic at first when I was younger, I always thought it was originally the Catholic Church. Well, quote unquote, we are the real Catholic Church, but
Right.
that's for a later on conversation. I was like, man, where did this all start? And then he's like, well, I've been looking into the Orthodox Church, and I've never heard of it a day in my life. And I didn't really know anything about faith or theology kind of stuff. I just had like a brief understanding. I knew, Christ, Jesus is God, that we do in the Trinity and stuff like that. Even then, I really didn't know what the Trinity was. Well, he told me about the church and stuff, and I was like, well, it kind of sounds like a cult at first. And I was like, be careful, I don't. It sounded kind of weird at first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A couple months go by and stuff. Well, I did a bike ride, and now I'm getting healthier. I got my body back, and I can actually I can ride a bike with my legs, like a 3-wheel bike or a recumbent bike.
That's amazing.
So I did a ride here in Springfield, Illinois, for for women that are aborting babies to help pro-life stuff like that. And we called it the Ride for Life. Well, I did the ride, and I remember the day of the ride, my brother's like, hey, Father George wants to meet you. You really need to come to the church and check it out. I'm like, okay. So we get up early in the morning. I'm like, man, what is this? He's like, well, this is Matins. It's kind of before liturgy. I'm like, what is going on here? I never heard nothing like this, but we, but as soon as I step into the church, I knew it. It's the weirdest thing I've ever felt in my life, but it's the most purest and realest thing I've ever felt in my life, if that makes any sense. You probably know what I'm talking about. The same thing, my wife, we wasn't even married yet. And she's like, this is it. I think this is it. And I knew it. I remember telling Father George that after liturgy, he took us out to lunch with my brother and stuff. And I was like, I want to be Orthodox, like right now.
Amen.
Well, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's get you into the church first and stuff, and well, that was October 14th or something like that. And I was brought into the church the next month.
That's awesome.
It was steamrolled. I knew it. I was ready. I was like, man, this is it. We get christened, we get brought into the church, baptized and stuff like that. And I took on Saint Athanasius. That's the name Thanasi. My wife is Katharina, Saint Catherine the Great.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and and it really started to make sense after I came into the church. All these things in my past that were happening, I don't know if it was a slow, like everything kind of was leading to the church, if that makes sense. Like I was saying, when I got paralyzed, I moved down to St. Louis for a rehab center. Well, across the street from the rehab center that I lived in is St. Nicholas's Greek Orthodox Church.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So then after I get chrismated, the next year, I do a bike ride with my 3-wheel bike. I ride from St. Louis, Missouri to Springfield, Illinois, which is 120 miles. So I'm paralyzed from the neck down, and I do a 120-mile bike ride. But the coolest thing is the church that I start from was St. Nicholas.
That's awesome.
Right across the street from how I lived at in rehab. I mean, it's like things are just so and with me, like how I love the sport of boxing. Like I was telling you, my favorite boxer ever, Vasily Lomachenko, he's your Ukrainian Orthodox. You mean, it's like, and even his walkout attire, like he had the ICXC and he walked out with the flag. I'm like, man, small little subtle things were slowly but surely, I think, bringing me to the church.
That's awesome.
I've been Orthodox for about 4 years, almost 5, something like that. And it's so beautiful. My brother, he's a monk. My brother's actually Tantra. He's one of the youngest ever Tantra great schema monks there is, I think, in church history. And it's beautiful to have such. My youngest brother is like my biggest, almost like my spiritual father, kind of. You mean? But it's like even Father George, our priest. It's amazing how do I say this? You know each other so short, but you've known each other for so long.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like all the guys that I go to church with, actually one will be trotting in about 10 minutes. He'll sit down and kind of listen. He asked me to be the best man at his wedding, and I've only known him for a couple of years.
That's so awesome.
But I mean, the way we've known each other is just like, when I did a speech, I was like, how do you know somebody so short, but understand them for really who they are and know them for so long? And, like when I was in my bad, like when I was in my drug habit and stuff like that, I had a personal one-on-one relationship with with a demon. I really did. We would actually sit down and talk, and it would tell me, "Hey, just do this, that everything will be okay." You mean them kind of things, and it was insane. But then coming to the church, it really, how would I say this? You already understand what I'm trying to say. It helps people discern those things and understand,
Mm-hmm.
see things for more clearly than what they are. It's almost like we've had the veil kind of taken off our face.
Mm-hmm.
We can kind of see it a little more clear. Like I think it's Saint Anthony says, when you die, it's like you're a drunk man finally getting sober for the first time.
That's right.
You truly, clearly see it. It's kind of like that with us a little bit. The more we get in and the more we dig into the faith, I think we get our blinders come off a little bit, and you can kind of see things a little for what they are.
That's right.
But like we said before, you also have to be careful, because I always look at us when we first come to the church, like we said the other day, like we are gold medals for the demons. They are going to come at us tenfold, every which way you
That's
could
right.
think of. You mean, and it won't be no hard, crazy things. They're going to come in very subtle, very subtle. You mean just anything like, and then I got the blessing to go to seminary for theology and your church history. Well, even that, studying too much and really diving in and getting too intellectual and not staying ontological, keeping them things balanced. Like I got really bad at like trying to prove people wrong at first. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
why, this is why, this is why. Instead of me being like, hey, like try to understand where people are. And I was that person. I was very I was like, well, I'm going to stomp you. I'm going to stomp you, kind of thing. You mean, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just, and then sorry, I'm just kind of rambling on with it, but
Not at all.
it just it's beautiful how the church can really help you see those things and pull you back. And it's like I really want I'm no saint or anything like that, but I really want a lot of Orthodox people to see that, like, you mean, we need to love all. We care for all.
Absolutely.
That's the thing too. I don't want to be that person where like, well, look how cocky and know who this guy is. I definitely wouldn't ever want to be Orthodox. I want them to be like, why? What changed him? What made him not be like that? Or the church. I mean, and it has. It's changed so much. I mean, so much stuff around me. I can't be thankful enough. I really can't. I mean, it's just I don't know, man. Sorry. If you have any questions about anything too, you mean, uh, yeah. I mean, sorry, man.
No, I mean,
Get emotional.
we're we're so similar in so many
Yeah.
ways. I also was raised in Rome, in Roman Catholicism. I also spent time in the worship of Cthulhu. I mean, Calvinism. And then, but just like you said, it's like from the moment I experienced the Divine Liturgy for the first time, I knew, it's like St. Seraphim Rose talks about, I knew this is it. This is what is true. This is what I've been missing all this time in many ways.
Yep.
And it was very eye-opening. Um, the and just like you, it's like I didn't go out to lunch with my priest, but I do remember that I went up to the priest after my first Divine Liturgy and was like, I want to become Orthodox. Like,
Yeah.
what do I have to do?
Exactly. Where do I sign? Where do I sign? Yeah.
Exactly. Where do I sign? Put me in the water.
Exactly.
But he just but he was like, well, let's take it slow and whatnot.
Put me in the water.
Exactly. But it was just like from that moment, every chance I had to be at church, I was at church. And so it wasn't a month. For me, it was like 6 months, but I was able to come into the church and it was so beautiful, man. And just how much it transformed me. I went from being a terrible person who was very unpleasant to live with to being somebody who my wife was like, man, you are a completely different person. And so I just praise God, brother. I praise God.
When you said that, it was like, man, I was like, you and I are kind of like two peas in a pod. Because that's like, Kevin, I was such a terrible, bad person. I would be high all night long and just like freak out on my wife and say she was doing things that she wasn't doing. And she's like, she was there for me the whole time. And it really
Amazing.
shows you how true and real the demons are.
Right.
Will make you push the closest, bestest thing you can ever have in your life if you don't watch out with it.
That's right.
They can persuade you with anything, but it's also the beauty of having, Christ in your back and the understanding of the church to really help you defeat those things.
That's right.
You mean, and it's scary, and I pray for the world so much, and it hurts me to see how many people that are their souls are lost, and they're so hurt and tormented.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have a family member that's going through a very bad drug problem, and it's like, man, I just don't know. I'm like, I don't know. It just hurts me so bad. That he's just so. You mean he's like, well, I gave the church thing a try, and I'm like, well, it's not a try. It's a process.
That's
it's a
right.
battle. You mean it's like the church is the hospital for our sick souls. You mean, and it's like we need it constantly. We can't just go there and just be, well, I'm Orthodox or I'm cool and I'm okay. It doesn't.
Right.
It's you got to keep climbing that hill and never stop stopping. You mean never stop.
Exactly.
Because the day you do is the day they're going to swallow you back in, and they will too. You mean.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's Saint Anthony that says, if you could actually see the demons on earth, it would be just pitch black, shoulder to shoulder, back to, you mean, just full of demons everywhere. You'd almost like
Right.
you couldn't go nowhere.
Exactly. Exactly. No, you're exactly right. And the thing is that everything is spiritual warfare. This is why, sometimes people ask me like, well, what do you know about spiritual warfare? Spiritual warfare. And I'm like, spiritual warfare isn't yelling at demons. Spiritual warfare is saying your daily prayers when you don't want to, when you're too tired, when you don't feel like it. That's spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare is choosing to eat one serving instead of 3 or 4 servings at supper time. It's choosing to do what you already know is the right things. It's choosing to have self-discipline instead of giving into the passions. That's spiritual warfare, because that's how you overcome the demons. That's how you become a saint. And when you become a saint, you drive out the demons. And on the other hand, spiritual warfare is every time we do give in, that's us losing. That's us being conquered by the demons.
It doesn't have to be you. It doesn't have to be you going, "Down, foul spirit!"
Exactly. Be gone, foul spirit.
Bless you, though. I always tell people when they first come to the church, I'm like, when you first come in, and all three of us have seen it, you're gonna have this big golden cloud of just grace, and you're gonna conquer the world. You mean it's like, and I always try to tell people, like, when you come to the church, there's nothing you can teach the church or bring to the church. You need to let the church actually crush you down and remold you. And keep your simple ABCs. Are you praying? Are you fasting? It's like, don't come into the church and say, well, I'm going to teach my priest this, or I'm going to teach my bishop this. It's like, pump the brakes for a minute, come to the church, and just enjoy that you finally found the truth. You mean?
Exactly.
Because it happens like that. You see, and you've seen it too, Kev. Like all the guys get online, and sorry if I'm speaking badly on anybody, please forgive me for this. But
no, you're all right.
It's like, talk to your priest before anything. I forgot. I'm going to read the ladder of divine ascent. I'm like, well, the third step is to denounce the world. How are you going to do that? And you just became Orthodox,
right? Exactly.
Like I was that guy for a while. I really was. It's like, and I'm blessed to have my brother as a monk. He's like, hey, pump your brakes there, Thanasi. It's like, but it's like, you get that zeal, and it's so beautiful. And I always tell people to understand that God is going to pull that grace away for a little bit sometimes, just to to get you to come back even harder and pray harder.
That's right.
It's I can't remember. I think I don't know. Remember what saint it was that talked about that. About the 3 steps of grace. It's when you first come to the church, you have this this big cloud of enjoyment. I can't think. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
But he's like you're gonna feel so good. You're gonna be all pumped up and amazing, and all of a sudden it's gonna feel like the rug was pulled out from under your feet.
That's right.
And that's it. That's the time that you really need to put God first and pray and dig down, and then when the grace comes back, it's tenfold.
Exactly.
And sorry, I have to call this. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, no, Sako, we've talked about this before too, but it really is like one of the things that I think is so beautiful about Holy Orthodoxy is that so often I think back to my time in Protestantism and even Catholicism to a certain extent, and so much of sort of the devotional life within especially Protestantism is geared towards you trying to feel something. And they even say things like, it doesn't, it only counts, your prayers only count if it's what you want to do. It doesn't count if you just say prayers, just your daily prayers or whatever. It has to be from the heart or whatever. And that's a load of horse crap. It's so often you wake up and you don't want to, and that's actually when it's the most meaningful, because now you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for God. And that's the mindset, is we're doing this for God. It's not about me, it's about him. It's not about me, it's about becoming a saint. It's about subduing the passions. It's not about me just being really on fire for God or whatever. And what Thanasi just said is so true. We start out with this beautiful grace of that God does give us that time period. But hold on, I'm going to sneeze. But despite that, we also know that there's going to be days, there's going to be times where it isn't like that. And even that God intentionally takes that in some ways so that we can grow in him. And that's when we truly, it becomes something deeper than just, I'm doing this because I want to, and it becomes, I'm doing this because it's the truth, man.
And that's another thing too. Like I learned too, it's like it was always a me thing, right? It was always I'm doing this. No. God is doing this through you.
Exactly.
And it's a scary thing too, because even being Orthodox, I've done it myself. I've went to that point, like, look how good I'm doing. Look how much I've accomplished, instead of saying, thank you, God, for everything you've done for me. It's like, instead of me like trying to humble myself, you get so prideful. And that's a kicker too. It's like pride is the number one sin of all, and it can come from every which way. And if you don't keep yourself on par, talking to your priest or your spiritual father, and praying and fasting, then things will creep up slowly but surely and take you over again.
That's right. Absolutely. I think this is why, you and I are such peas in a pod, because truly, and this is something that I think about often, is truly what I am most afraid of is I'm not afraid of being martyred or whatever. I mean, all of us, it's natural to be fearful of your life or whatever. But when I really think about what I'm afraid of, it's pride. It's thinking that I did something great, thinking that I am something great. That's what I'm truly afraid of. And I always think too, even like you guys heard me pray here, and it's like I always pray, God, make me worthy to do something. Make us worthy. Make what I'm doing worthy, because I know that in myself, it's not going to be. It's going to be nothing. But if he makes it worthy, then it can transform those around me and do good for people. That's what matters.
Very true. Sorry, I had my mic muted.
No, it's okay.
Dog was barking.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a German Shepherd.
Nice.
He's a big bait. You ever seen the movie Uncle Buck?
Yeah.
Yeah, his name's Buck Russell. Yeah.
Cute.
So
I love German Shepherds.
But yeah, man, it's like even actually today is my grandpa's name day, and Sunday will be a year that he passed away, and it was kind of amazing. I mean, not amazing, but my grandpa had a heart attack and got real sick, and I remember he was in the ICU, and we was sitting there, and he was up, for about a day, and he woke up and he's like, "Look how beautiful she is," and I was like, "Is she like a what kind of what is she, like a hot girl or something like that, Grandpa?" He's like, "No, dummy." He said, "She's gorgeous. She's pure beauty." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You can't see her." And I'm like, "No." So I pulled up a picture of the icon of the Theotokos, and he's like, "That's who she is."
Oh my goodness, that's
Funny
awesome.
My grandpa had no idea what Orthodox was, or anything about the Theotokos or anything like that. And then he's talking about, he's like, Thanasi, if something happens, I want to be baptized. Well, he got real sick, was on life support. They came in and baptized him, and then he died about 4 days after we baptized him.
Oh.
So, but no, hey, it's kind of beautiful because he took on the name Constantine, and it kind of fits for him because Saint Constantine almost
That's right.
Till his deathbed to get baptized. So it's a beautiful thing, man. It really is, and just the whole churches, man. It's like I wish everybody could become Orthodox and see it, but I guess that's just not how the cookie crumbles, in the saying of Jim Carrey. But
that's right.
It is, man. And like I've got so ardent, like, man, I just almost like a stranglehold, like just I want you to know and understand, but we just have to accept everyone for who they are. And
that's right.
Love everyone for who they are. I mean, it's like even when people try to like combat you and I on there and stuff, it's like, well, we love you and care for you. I just want people to really understand and see the truth.
Absolutely.
It is what it is, and the way things are happening in the world, it's scary. It seems like the times are coming. I mean, it really does. And I'm beyond blessed that I finally got to find this. And I always remember we'd have a group of kids every year from Guardian Angels? But yeah, up in Chicago, it's an Orthodox middle school, and they're getting ready to go into high school. And I keep telling them, like, you guys have been given the Willy Wonka golden ticket.
That's right.
Whole life, and just just really hold on to it. And I don't know if you might understand, like with the cradles, I feel really bad sometimes because it's almost like a second shelf, you just kind of put it on the shelf, and you really, I don't want to bash anybody when I say that, forgive me, but I don't know if they really truly know what they have. But like
right.
us becoming converts, it's like I'm gonna hold on to this to as strong as far as I can.
Exactly. Well, I think you're so right. I think that there's different temptations for each, right? So it's like the temptation for the cradles is exactly what you said, to kind of put it on a shelf, not necessarily take it as seriously, not necessarily get as much out of it or care. But then the temptation for us, I think, is to be so full of zeal that we forget about maybe the things that are more important than. So it's like we're so full of zeal that exactly what you said. It's like all that beauty and all that zeal of, and I understood what you were saying and all the beauty of it, and I completely agree. I want everybody to be Orthodox. I want everybody to experience this. But sometimes I think maybe the temptation with that is exactly what you were saying before. It's like, well, not everybody is going to become Orthodox. And so what's my response to that going to be? Am I going to be righteous and just love them where they're at and pray for them and all these things? Or am I going to become angry and, telling them off, mocking them, you know, I mean, even to a certain extent, it's like you've seen me on my live streams. It's like I do try to be patient with people, but at the same time, I'm not going to pretend like I'm perfect. There have been people who you know, who I've been like, oh man, this is just a stupid thing to say, and I'm kind of like teasing them or whatever. And so it really is like exactly what you said, but I would just say that it's not so much that I think it's not so much that it's bad to be a convert. It's just that there's a different temptation that comes for converts. Or I mean, converts. There's a different temptation for converts, and there's a different temptation for cradles. And but also, you know, with that said, Sako kind of straddles both of those realities because he was a cradle, and then he left the faith for a time and came back. So, you know, Sako can kind of speak to, I guess, both aspects of that in a sense,
Cool
right,
name, by the way.
Sako?
Yep.
That's a cool name, by the way.
I thanks. Sako is sort of like the informal thing, kind of like Sam for Samuel or whatever. It's actually Sarkis
Oh, okay.
or Sarkis.
Is that your actual name?
Yeah.
That's a cool name.
Thanks.
And who is Sarkis again? You told me
Yeah,
that
my
he was
patron saint is
it's Armenian for Sergius. I remember that.
yeah. He was basically a general in the Roman army, and then he I can't remember how he ended up, but he ended up in Sassanid Persia, and then for a time he was a general for the Persian emperor, and then but this was during the time when the Sassanid Persian Empire was trying to make Zoroastrianism the state religion. Uh, so when it came out, uh, when it came out that him and his son were Christian, they were the emperor tried to induce them to renounce their faith. When they didn't, him and his son were martyred together.
Could you imagine being so based that you raise your son so well that he becomes, you know, a faithful martyr with you?
Yeah.
But yeah, Sako, you know, it's interesting because I've told Thanasi about a lot about you, by the way, Sako, because I talk about you a lot when I'm on my live streams, and just how knowledgeable, how well studied, you know, truly very impressive, just knowledge and wisdom and all of that. But one of the things that I always, you know, is interesting to me is that part of that that's ironic is that Sako, you weren't really, when you were being raised Orthodox, you didn't really know the faith that well,
Nope.
because you were kind of, and he can tell his own story, but it's kind of like just sort of defaulting to an almost Protestant understanding of the faith. But I'll let you tell your own story.
Yeah, I mean, my particular church tradition, which is the Armenian church, I'll just go ahead and say it is. It's not historic. I mean, and your results may vary depending on parish, but and things have been getting better since when I was a kid. Um, yeah, things are a lot better now compared to when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, at least my parish, really not good when it came to catechesis. It was very much like going with the motions kind of cradle community. So as a result, if what I knew about the faith came from Bible movies and shows
Mm-hmm.
and like a lot of Protestant stuff, and you know, sort of your default American Christianity, which is like evangelical with some Calvinism thrown in there.
Hmm.
So,
Right.
um, so naturally later on when I started having questions about the faith and doubts about certain things, I didn't I didn't get the best responses to these questions. And the responses I did get just made me like less and less uh, wanting to be in the faith. And so it's hard to say exactly when, but I'd say like sometime when I was like either 18 or 18, 19, I sort of just like left the faith altogether. Um, and then for like the first couple of years, I was into some new age bullshit. Um, but then I sort of gradually got out of that, especially because I started so I took a religious studies, like comparative religions class, and that's where I was exposed to various
Hmm.
um religions, but what stood out to me were the Indian religions, namely Hinduism and Buddhism. And so, I don't, this isn't about me, so I'm just going to fast forward quite a bit. But long story short, I ended up being a Hindu for over a decade.
No, you're good, man. No, no, no. It's not just about me. It's cool to have this going because my story only goes so long. So if Kevin's cool with that, I mean, hey,
Yeah, I'm totally cool with it.
um, there, um, yeah. So I was a Hindu for over a decade, and then through a very fortuitous set of philosophical inquiries and stuff, starting in, I want to say 2020 because of the COVID lockdowns. I can't remember what it was. I think either it was like a Orthodox video I saw or book or something prompted me to want to read the church fathers and get more um acquainted with the early church. And so little by little through reading the fathers and various other things, I found my way back in stages. But I didn't actually come back into the church until like like New Year's of Christmas and New Year's of 2023. Like so, right about to be 2024.
Nice.
So yeah, and the final straw was basically hearing a amazing testimony by Armenian priest who had um, some very miraculous experiences.
That's awesome. It's interesting because even in my own story, I was raised Catholic, but I remember there was a time where I wouldn't say that I ever, like, I would have committed apostasy, but thanks be to God, a friend of mine kind of helped prevent that from happening at the time. But what stands out to me now, looking back, is that so much of my problem with, and obviously I wouldn't say that Catholicism is the truth, but it did come down to I was also not catechized very well. It's
yeah,
like I didn't know my faith. I believed in evolution and I believed in all kinds of stupid stuff. In fact, I remember one time I was at a park and there was this Protestant girl who uh, was doing the clumsy Protestant, evangelism where they, if you died today, would you blah blah blah? And I hate to say this, but the only reason why I was talking to her is because she was kind of cute. So I was like talking to her, and I was like, well, she asked me something about, do you know Jesus? And I said, well, I'm Catholic. And then she said something about, Catholicism. And I said, well, I don't really believe most of that stuff anyway. And she said, okay, so what do you actually believe? And I told her that I had been studying ancient Egyptian religion. And I was like, I really like, how in ancient Egyptian religion, it's like they had this story about how God would like weigh your heart against a feather. And then if your heart was sinful, then it would weigh more than the feather and you would get fed to this demon thing. And if you weren't sinful, then whatever, like you would go to heaven or whatever. And she was like, to her credit, she was like, yeah, that's a bunch of BS, dude. Like, what the hell?
Some of these faith backgrounds are amazing sometimes.
And I mean, like to her credit, she, told me that was stupid, but she didn't really know how to, but the point is that, so it's so important that we catechize the next generation. When I was asked to do Sunday school ministry, when we had our first Sunday school meeting with the deacon at my church, Deacon Alex, he said to us that the Sunday school, the catechesis ministry is the most important ministry in the church. And I think all three of us are a testimony to that.
Yeah, and
because
it's
so
never
many ways, all of us fell away because the people who should have instructed us in the faith either themselves didn't know how, and maybe it's not their fault. Like I don't really fault my parents for not knowing how to teach me the faith. Nobody taught it to them.
Yeah.
But either the people, so they either didn't know how, or they just didn't. Like, why, Sako, why didn't your priests instruct you so that you would have had a better understanding of the faith and not been left to Bible cartoons that taught penal substitution? Thanasi, why was nobody teaching you the faith? It's like, we did not receive this, and now I think so much, like, yes, we should practice evangelism, and yes, we should be doing these things. But even more important is making sure that we're there for the next generation so that they can stay with the faith and so that the faith can actually build deep roots and that people can become saints, that America can have saints and that Armenia can have saints again. So much of, I think, what's even more important than evangelism is the work of instructing the next generation in the faith.
And it's a beautiful thing. Like right now too, like when I told you my first day I attended into the Orthodox Church, we went to Matins, and there was me, my wife, my brother, and two other people there, and that was it. And then now we're looking at 4 years down the road. We think 60 at Matins, maybe 100 and something in liturgy.
No, that's awesome.
Multiplied by 4. It's so beautiful, and even like the catechism is just, always make sure we're always being catechized. We always still have to stay in catechism, no matter what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm beyond blessed, my brother Paisios and my wife, like we're blessed to have such a good priest, and my brother to continue with us on that, to really help us and keep us in line with all that stuff.
Absolutely.
It is a scary thing. We see this mass flood of Orthodox coming in. It's so beautiful, but hopefully trying to make, and I'm not a priest or a bishop, but making sure they're catechized properly, make sure they're coming in to really understanding what you're making a vow to, because you are marrying to Christ within the church. It's like,
that's right.
It's the true wedding. It's a true bridegroom.
Absolutely. Speaking of your brother, I want to hear more about your brother's story too. If it's okay with you to share, like, so he's one of the youngest,
Great.
schema monks of all
Yep.
time. Certainly, it sounds like maybe the youngest in America.
Yeah.
And he also came from Calvinism and these things.
Yeah. And
So,
actually,
yeah, go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead. Yeah,
No, I was just
actually,
asking about his story.
we kind of Dawson, you can help me on this one too if you want a little bit, but he kind of came from like a pseudo Christian background. Like we both grew up, quote unquote pseudo Catholic, right? We
Mm-hmm.
kind of actually have the picture of Mother Mary tattooed on the side of my neck right there if you see it. Right here's on the side
Oh,
of my
that's
neck.
so crazy.
Yeah.
Here, let me make your screen bigger so that
So you can see my
there you
neck.
go.
It's Mary.
Wow.
And well, um, then he started looking into Freemasonry, which is actually funny. The day I got this tattooed on my neck, he got like Mason symbols tattooed on his forearm, and then he left to go to the Marines, and
Okay.
he was a Morsock Raider in the Marines, which is the special forces in the Marines,
Yeah, it is.
and something happened to him there that made him just like stop. And he started talking to like a priest there, and he came home and he just started digging into faith. I mean, like hardcore, like reading Saint Maximus, reading John Calvin, a bunch of Protestant stuff. I can't remember, like I was telling you, Dr. James White, Jeff Durbin, all that stuff,
Right.
and just started digging and digging and digging. And over time, he just ventured into the faith. And before I asked the question within that one night, where did this all come about? He was already looking into the church. He's been talking to Father George for a while and stuff already. And then now him and I kind of started, we kind of came in this together. But he is above and beyond what I could ever be within the faith. I mean, the theology, his faith. I mean, he's so pure in heart, and he's a beautiful person. He really is. Not saying that just because my brother, but he really is. He's helped so many people within the church. I mean, it's just, he's amazing. He really is, man. And then, he went to the monastery and they seen something in him. They said, hey, this bless you.
No, thank you.
He actually was with Elder Nectarios in Greece for about 3 months, traveling all around Greece. He went to Mount Athos, all over the place. And now he's back, and he's kind of still waiting on what Metropolitan Nathaniel kind of wants to do, but he's really doing all the helping with the catechisms of the church. He's actually, I think, going to start doing a class on like asceticism, because I think people see only
awesome.
Ascetics. Well, not true, because what about St. John Chrysostom and his wife? They were both ascetics too.
That's
and
right.
So it's beautiful. I have him at the church for right now, and then I'll miss him when he goes back to whatever monastery they sent him to. But yeah, he loves it, man. When it comes to the faith, if you meet him, we talked to him for a few minutes that one day, but you could actually really sit down and talk to him. I don't know how to say it. You just know.
For sure.
I mean, so many people love him. I mean, he just has that zeal. I mean, that he has that true gift. It's just, yeah.
Are monks okay when monks go to the monastery, right? I mean, I guess it depends on the monastery, but like, to what degree are they allowed to have any contact with family and stuff? Like, are they ever allowed to make, say, occasional phone calls and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Well, a lot of, yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of monks with like social media and stuff, and I mean, it really depends. Now, there's a fine line on that conversation. There, it really depends on like what elder you're with. Like Saint Anthony Monastery, they're more of an Athonite monastery where they're more, secluded, kind of, because the job of a monastic is to pray for the world, and that's what they say, that the monastics are actually holding the world up. And they said if Mount Athos if it ever closed or fell, the world would end. And it's
absolutely.
It really depends on the elder, and what obedience you have, and what roles that you do. You mean there's monks that are iconographers, monks that are chanters, monks that just pray, and I mean it really depends. So I mean that's about the best answer I could give. You mean there's different kinds of monasteries, like a studio monastery where you do like the chanting and iconography, mosaics, all that kind of stuff. There's like an Athonite monastery where St. Anthony, where it's kind of like I don't want to say they keep the public out, but it's kind of more just for the monks to be there to pray.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well, and that's why, like, there's a friend of mine who was considering monasticism, and I asked if he's been to a monastery, and he said, well, not really, because the thing is that the only monastery in his community, it's like you basically go and you can participate in the divine liturgy, and then you kind of have to leave, because the thing is that the nuns there are they're very secluded, and they don't really talk to people outside, because their whole thing is just to pray for the people.
Yeah. And that's like even like like with Mount Athos, it kind of seems, I can't think of the monastery. It's on the rocks. It's in Greece. Innocence was telling us about it. My brother was too. He said that the monastery actually has to shut down so much time of the day so the monks can do their daily stuff.
Right.
And people just come and see it. And the same thing at Mount Athos. I think they have over 1,000 people a day, like tourists, that come to visit the mountain.
Right.
So it's and I get it. I guess I'm kind of vice versa on this conversation. Like, I do agree that people, I'm trying to say this the right way. I think monasteries should be secluded sometimes, but I think there is some where people can go and kind of understand it, but to a certain limit. You mean, it's like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's not a resort for people to go to and hang out and just get what they want, and have the monks serve them and stuff. Of course, they're going to be humble and do that for them, but it's like, that's their job. You mean, they died to the world, and that's what a tantrum is. It's a funeral and a rebaptism, a rebirth. You mean,
exactly.
So
it's so awesome to me that your brother was in the special forces with the Marines. He was in MARSOC, which, by the way, MARSOC is intense, man.
Yeah.
So he was in that, and then he went from the Marine Corps to the Special Forces of Holy Orthodoxy by being a cinema monk.
Yeah, he's always going above and beyond. Yeah.
Your brother always is one to go above and beyond, and that's beautiful.
It is, man. One day, hopefully, if I could ever drag him to get on here, but 99.9% of the time I won't, because he's like, well, but
yeah. And you and your brother were actually, you had talked about maybe doing a debate with Dr. James White.
Yes. Him and Jeff Durbin a while back. What was funny, so when we both came into Orthodox, we got like really big in debate, like we're going to defend the faith, and we're going to do this.
Right.
And actually, I wrote a message to Dr. James White. It was him. I'll have to find it. I'll screenshot it and send it to you. I was like, hey, how would you like to do a debate with my brother and I, over, how do you know the Bible, or where do you get your understanding of the Bible, and how do you know it's true?
Right.
Well, about, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months later, I got tagged in a Facebook video of Catholics carrying the statue of Mary around. And it was from Dr. James White. He said, hey, Thanasi, how would you and your brother like to debate, with Jeff Durbin and I? I'm like, okay. Well, they call me out on this Catholic video. And I'm like, well, I'm not Catholic. We're Orthodox for one. He's like, yeah, we've been trying to find 2 Orthodox scholars to debate. I'm like, for one, I'm not any close to being any Orthodox scholar. Like, we just came to the church, but
right.
My brother knew Calvinism. He knows it so well that it would have been it would have been okay, but even he kind of sat back. He's like, I don't want to get prideful on this. I don't want to make it a pride issue and stuff like that. So we did back out of it. And I did write him back, and I said, hey, we would be willing to come to Arizona and sit in a room with you and Jeff Durbin, and we could have a one-on-one conversation about this. Like, well, we want to do it live. We want the views and stuff like that. I'm like, well, so I couldn't force him into it. So we backed out on that one.
That's too bad.
Which it is what it is. It is probably the best for us in the end. So
yeah, and certainly probably at that time, like you were. Yeah. Now, and if he was looking for, I don't know, if he's talking about, we're looking for an Eastern Orthodox scholar or something.
Yeah, it's like I don't even know. You don't know. I don't even, nobody Orthodox even knows who I really am. I just became Orthodox like 6, 7 months ago. You mean?
But he's going to be hard pressed to find quote unquote scholars who will debate him. I mean, maybe Michael Garton or something, but most of our quote unquote scholars are also priests who don't
Yeah,
have time to sit and debate because they're too busy, you know, being clergy. So for the most part, if he wants to debate somebody, he needs to debate with like Jay Dyer
yeah,
or, you
exactly.
know,
And Jay would be happy to do it. You know, he would, or Father Deacon A would do it too.
yeah, yeah. I was actually just thinking that. Um, Father Deacon.
Among Oriental Orthodox, I know a guy who would he would probably make Mr. James White um run for cover. and the
Good.
crazy and the crazy thing is this guy is like 22 years old.
Really?
Yeah,
That's wild. I
yeah.
mean, I'd
His
be
his
willing to.
his
I'd
his,
probably
his,
to debate
his
him.
name is Anthony. He goes by Agan.
Egan. Wait, is he the one? Did you send me one of his things?
I might have.
Because I
Was he?
He's
feel like I
he's
remember this.
Was that the kid that did the
he's
thing with Cliff?
huh?
Was that the kid that did the video? Remember Cliff, the Protestant guy? What's Cliff's background?
Oh, oh, oh,
Cliff New
oh, oh.
Chettle.
Oh no, no, you're talking about Deacon Mihret. He's Ethiopian deacon.
No, no, no,
I
no.
know.
No, they were at the college campus, and Cliff was talking with his son, and the kid joined in. Uh,
Yeah, 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 yeah. The Ethiopian kid, right?
yeah,
Who
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
has like a, yeah. That's Deacon Mihret.
He's a deacon now,
Miret.
No, no, he was.
huh?
He was just not in his vestments, but yeah, that he
No,
already
no,
was a deacon. He was just
no. This kid wasn't a deacon at all. He was, man. I'll have to find the video and send it to you. No, he wasn't a deacon.
but
He was a
but
college student
like
at the college.
yeah, 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 he's a student at the college too.
Oh, I didn't know
He's a
he didn't
college
say
student.
anything
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, he's a student as well. Yeah, so yeah, that's Deacon Mihret. Um,
He has an epic name.
yeah, yeah, he's and he
Deacon
has a
Miret.
he has an awesome podcast called The Burning Bush. So,
Oh, that's cool.
I'll have to check it out.
um,
I have a
but
Ethiopian friend who keeps trying to get me to do, which I actually do want to do it. I'm not ghosting him. We just haven't been able to
mhm.
make our schedules align. But he wants me to come teach a class at his Ethiopian church about orthodoxy and counseling.
Mm.
And I do want to do it. Like I think it would be good, and I just haven't been able to align our schedules to make it happen. But he's a great guy. Um, he highly something,
Mm. Um,
but his name in the world is just Alex.
yeah, you know it's kind of funny. I I'm also under the supervision of one of the Coptic metropolitans in the U.S.
Really?
I was blessed to be I'm blessed to be working on the first by God's grace the first Oriental Orthodox study Bible. So
That's so
that's
awesome.
this is going along really well, and we're doing very extensive notes. And one of the things that we're really doing in addition to having like the church fathers and everything is having like explaining the Bible in its ancient context, because I think like if when you understand the Bible in its ancient context, the way the ancient authors would have read it, you end up with very apostolic church teachings, like, you know, to some degree Catholic, but also very Orthodox and stuff. Like,
Hmm.
I always say one of the and me and Kevin have talked about this. One of the um one of the um big evangelical Protestant scholars who sort of helped expose um evangelicals, non-denoms, what have you, to certain ancient church ideas was a guy by the name of Dr. Michael Heiser.
Hmm.
And he passed in, I think, 2021, God rest his soul. Um but he actually, without reading the church fathers, in fact, he made a very annoying point, like, about not, like, reading the Bible in its ancient context, taking the Bible at its word, staying away from, what he saw tradition. We don't need the church fathers. But
Right.
ironically, in doing that, he came to a lot of freakishly orthodox conclusions in his theology,
Absolutely.
uh, completely independent of the church fathers, which made me feel so vindicated, because I'm like, okay, so it's not just us seeing things. Like, if you legitimately read the Bible in its ancient context, even absent church tradition, you're going to end up with some very uh
Right.
not some very non-mainstream Protestant conclusions. Like a big part of that is the divine counsel.
Yeah.
He In his books he writes about how it's God's destiny for us is to become part of the divine council, or of the heavenly host, which is
Sounds almost like the saints.
Sorry.
No,
in
you don't.
ba- basically, in so many words, he just ends up describing theosis.
Exactly.
And then he talks about how he talks about, like, gods, like angels being described as gods with the lowercase g, and how they were placed over the nations after the Tower of Babel, when God divided up the nations. But then they became corrupt and accepted human worship, and that's how they became the demonic false gods of the nations. And how Christ's victory was, like, he really captures something that's lost in a lot of Protestantism, which is the atonement of Christ is understood in a very juridical way, imputed righteousness.
Right.
Like his righteousness is put on you, your guilt is put on him, which that's not biblical, but okay.
Right.
Uh, he
Talk about garbage theology.
yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
so funny enough, like completely without the church fathers, Heiser and, like, the other pastors that ended up being his colleagues, like joining his team, who kept his work, who sort of keep his research and his work going after he's passed. They actually have a really good channel. It's called Ring Them Bells. um, but they straight up, like, they've straight up, made multiple videos talking about penal substitutionary atonement and how it's not biblical.
Which is awesome. I mean, in so many ways, they're doing our work for us without even realizing it.
Yeah, yeah. Which is as much of a hurry to try to convert them to orthodoxy, because it's like, maybe it's kind of best that they sort of come to all these conclusions as Protestants, because then it sort of vindicates the Orthodox Church, because it's like, see, this is what we've
Right.
been saying.
Right.
um but but it's like, yeah, so what Heiser did is sort of introduce Protestants to the very cosmic nature of Christ's work on the cross, like what it actually did, because it wasn't this sort of juridical exchange of guilt and um like juridical justification. It was his victory over the the powers and principalities of this world,
Hmm.
and his trampling down of death by death, as we say. Um, and so like it's very cosmic in Heiser points out the very cosmic nature. Like he overthrows the corrupt, fallen members of the divine council, and then instead of them, the righteous Christians take their place, kind of thing. That's pretty much Orthodoxy 101. Like,
Exactly.
um, and then he even talks about, like he even mentions other, ancient Jewish and Christian understandings, like for example, well, and this is in the Bible as well, like ain't a lot of people don't know it, but there are angels over even parts of the natural world. Like there's an
Hmm.
angel of the frost, there's an angel of the winds, there's an angel of the
The
fires,
waters.
the waters. Yeah. So it's like, so he also talks about that in his books. um,
That's so
so I
awesome.
mean, obviously he doesn't come to all. So okay, he doesn't believe the Eucharist is purely symbolic, but he's not quite there. Like, but he didn't quite get to the real presence
Right.
level. But it's like, okay, he got pretty damn close. Like,
Right.
um, um, for somebody who did not use the church fathers whatsoever, bravo.
Exactly. Exactly. And like you said, I think that there's almost something like, obviously for his sake, I wish that he had, come to
Become
know Holy Orthodoxy. But in another sense, there's something so spectacular about the fact that even without knowing the church, even without being in the church, he came to understand like the majority of the church's worldview. He came to vindicate, and he did so from the very ancient Near Eastern sources that the
hmm
apostles would have been drawing on and using. So he really demonstrates that. I think what's maybe the best thing about Heiser and all of that is kind of what Father Stephen DeYoung shows as well, which is that Orthodox Christianity, it's not just that this is, it's not just that this is the earliest Christians, it's that this stuff is rooted in Second Temple Judaism. You can clearly see this kind of continuity between Second Temple Judaism and then the Orthodox Church and Orthodox theology, which is exactly what we would expect. Where one of
hmm
the things that I think is so problematic about Protestantism or even Roman Catholicism to a point is the fact that you kind of have this. It's like a Second Temple Jew could not have believed the majority of the stuff that Roman Catholics believe and wouldn't have believed hardly any of what Protestants believe. But a Second
yeah,
Temple Jew who understands Jesus as the Messiah, what would his religion have looked like? And the answer, as Dr. Mike Heiser is sort of unwittingly showing, and as Father Stephen DeYoung very intentionally shows, is Orthodox Christianity.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the reason it vindicates us so much is because you know what Heiser's research shows.
Hmm.
It shows that the overwhelming majority of Orthodox doctrines can be justified just from Scripture.
Exactly.
Like like the Protestants, like, where's that in the Bible? Read Mike Heiser.
Right. Protestants are like, where's that in the Bible? And Mike Heiser's like, well, actually.
um, for example, I don't know if okay, Athanasi,
What's up?
are you? Are you familiar with like Father Stephen's work, or have you
Yeah, actually,
listened?
I'm actually gonna be on Father Stephen DeYoung's podcast.
No way.
Yep,
You're gonna be on Lord of Spirits.
yep. I got invited, so I don't know when I'm gonna do it yet. So I got to talk to him, get all that stuff figured out.
That's awesome.
Yep, I talked to them. Oh man, it's so I went to Thailand about 3 months ago. So it's been about 4 months since I talked to them. And forgive me for the flag behind me because I had it position. I didn't mean to position it like this to where it looks like I'm an icon.
I didn't even notice
So
that.
I'm gonna have my wife move it up. I didn't realize that. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna get bashed for this. Honey, will you move that flag up for me, please? I was like, no way. I
I
told
didn't
Dawn,
even notice that.
I was like, should I move that, man? I was like, I don't like, they don't look right. So forgive me, guys. Forgive me, please forgive me.
Well, you are an icon of Christ.
Man, I was like, I looked at it, I was like, no way. Oh, my lantern, man.
Hell no. To the no,
Hell
no,
no.
no. Yeah, to the no.
That's okay. Now we get to see your lovely wife. So that's what this was really about.
I
He
told her,
just
I was like, yeah, I was
wanted.
like, you want to sit in with me? She's like, I'll sit over here. I'm fine. She said,
That's what this was really about. He just wants to show off his wife.
she's a blessing, man. Without her, I would be, I'm telling you, I'd keep going, honey. You got to go up a while because I don't want my head to be anywhere into the icon picture at all. I feel so terrible. Lord, please forgive me for that. Oh, my God. That's so funny. Oh, God. Oh, man. Dang, Kevin, I can see your kind of your collection now, huh? Your book collection.
Yeah, you can see you can see it much better than you can on TikTok,
Yeah.
to be sure. You can see these are my two bookshelves in my office, and then I have I have about 6 more bookshelves that are actually organized, and then another bookshelf that's books I'm like books that I am gonna read soon. So it's like there's a bookshelf they're set aside so I can read them.
Yeah, mine,
Oh,
they're
also,
they're all
also,
busted. Hi, kitty.
yeah. I live in Armenia, and he's a street cat I adopted.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, I gotta maximize the screen. There he is. What?
Cyrus.
We
He's
love
zoned.
Cyrus.
He's zoned.
Yeah, he's like the most affectionate cat you'll ever meet, man. I always joke that he's like a dog in a cat's body.
That's awesome.
But
He
yeah,
just
here's
he
sorry. This if you want to know a lot about what the monastic world's about, this book right here,
Mhm.
The Angelic Life,
Nice.
this tells you, I mean, literally everything you need to know. Like if you ever think about inquiring to be a monastic, about the different stages of monasticism, the different types of monasteries, all that stuff.
That's awesome.
um I'm gonna try to make arrangements sometime this year to actually spend some time in a Coptic monastery in Egypt.
Well, you got to visit Mount Athos, didn't you?
No, that didn't work out because things didn't work out with my friend Oresti's schedule because he was waiting to get a response from the government, like what his schedule would be like, and it just stupid bureaucracy, man. It just took forever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Darn.
Yeah, I'm going in September. I'm pretty sure.
yeah. So it didn't end up working out. So we're gonna.
You're going
Oh, you're
to
going to
Not
Athos,
Athos, yeah.
That's awesome.
How did I just do that?
dude.
Sorry.
Dude, do me a favor in my honor. See if it, wait. When did you say you're going?
I think in the end of September.
End of September. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, I wonder. I wonder if there's a possibility because I live in Armenia, which is like, you know, what like like 2 countries over, basically. So it's like Armenia, and then there's Turkey, then there's Greece. So I wonder if I were to like, if we were to like meet somewhere, and then we could go together. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to see the dates, and that's the kicker with me because I'm paralyzed from the neck down. So like the travels,
Hmm.
even my brother said the travel's gonna be hectic even getting there because you got to get there, and none of the roads in Greece are like it's all windy and crazy, and then take the ferry to get to Mount Athos and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, figure it out and definitely see you.
Yeah. But if I can make it, definitely pay a visit to the hand of Mary Magdalene for me.
Oh
That's
yeah, yeah.
that's like one of the things that I really want to see.
I know. I want to see. Well, they moved it today. For the Ascension was the belt of the Theotokos.
Oh wow,
Yep, they have her belt. They have her belt there that she wove. I think it was
Mm.
by camel hair, and then
that's amazing.
they take it. Oh, they take it off the Mount Athos every year for the Ascension.
That's so awesome. I didn't even know they had that.
Yeah, yeah,
They have so many things that I don't even know it all.
Yeah, I really want to see the hand of Mary Magdalene in particular it's um it's uncorrupt. It's like the joints are still flexible and it's warm to the touch. So,
yeah.
Amazing.
We there's sorry, sorry. There's a Serbian monastery a little north of where we are. What's it called, Pisces? The monastery up there.
Libertyville. I don't know.
It's somewhere in Libertyville, Illinois. Well, they have they have a saint's body in the monastery. That's in the casket, and all that. You can go and venerate them. Well,
That's
one night,
amazing.
this is a crazy story. So me, Paisios, a couple other brothers, we all went there. Well, we get there and it's kind of late at night, and Paisios goes up there, and one of the I think was it the abbot, or what the
Priest or
a
something.
priest or somebody was up there, and he goes up there and he says, "Hey, Father," and he's like, "Yes, it's always open. Come in, my son." Well, we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, this priest monk or whoever walks away into the distance towards the interstate. Dead serious. He's in all black and he disappears. I'm not lying. Pisces is right here. He can venerate for me for this. So,
What?
yeah, and we go inside, and what was even crazier, the candles that we have above the icons,
Yeah.
it was swinging like this, Kevin, like this, and back and forth, fast. I think we have a video of it. Yeah, I'll send you the video. Um,
That's crazy.
I thought I was losing my mind. I was like, guys, I was like, is that thing like swinging like that? And like, yeah. I mean, it was swinging fast, like somebody would like smack it hard and it was swinging, but it wouldn't stop. But the funnier part is, we're in there, we're all in there, we're venerating, paying our respects, and we're getting ready to
Right.
leave. We're in like the gift store, like where the books are and stuff. And this guy comes in, he goes, "Hey guys," he's like, "they got a mummy in there in the casket." He said, "There's a mummy." And they was talking about the saint, and it was really funny. He said, yeah, he's like, they open it up sometimes and they'll show you. He's like, yeah, but just so you guys know, there's a mummy inside that casket. He said,
He didn't know. Oh, that's funny.
it was
There's a
funny. He said, yeah,
mummy.
there's a mummy in there, guys. He said, he's all wrapped up.
Oh. It's funny. Thanasi is actually from my old stomping grounds, Sako,
Mhm.
because he's from Chicago. Well, not quite Chicago, right? You're
Southern
from
Chicago.
another part of
Yeah,
Illinois.
South Chicago. Yeah, I'm
Stop
from
beers.
Springfield.
Down beers.
Yeah,
Stop
the
beers.
Oh,
Dude,
you're actually closer to Springfield?
well, I live in Springfield.
Oh, you live in Springfield. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm from fairly close to Chicago.
Where at?
Tinley Park. Do you know where that is?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Tinley Park, and then Chicago Heights. I was born in Tinley Park, and I lived in Chicago Heights, and then my mom is actually from Cicero, so she's the true South Sider.
Do they still live there?
No, unfortunately I shouldn't say unfortunately. We had to move when I was a boy. So, but I live in lovely Washington State now. So it worked out for me. I'm very happy with it.
Nice. So you're way up there, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Man. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
actually
I'm in the frozen north
Paisios and his wife. His wife Olga. She took on the name Saint Olga of Alaska, and
base.
it's a beautiful story, man. They're actually going in July, and they get to go to the church that Saint Olga of Alaska was at. They get to stay there for a few days, and
No way. That's
they
awesome.
have a really cool trip ahead of them. I'm actually kind of jealous. I was like, well, I'm gonna get in your guys' suitcase and come with you.
That's awesome. I love it.
Oh, man. Ugh.
um. Oh.
Oh, there you are. I was
Now.
like, what happened? We froze up on us.
Oh no, no. I was fine. I just put the phone down for a second. But uh, I was gonna say also ho- how much of the whole Lord of Spirits podcast have you seen so far?
Oh, for Father Stephen De Young's.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't watched a ton of it, but they kind of found out about my story and stuff like that, and they got a hold of me and they kind of wanted me to get on his thing and kind of tell my story
Nice.
also.
That's
So
Yeah.
cool.
I've always wanted to meet Father Steven. So like I always like if anybody's got any connections, definitely introduce me because I'm his work really inspired me because I'm trying
shoot him a
I'm
message,
trying
man.
to
He'll say hi to you.
huh.
Send him a message. You got like Facebook and email. Get on there and just send him an email on a patristic faith.
Oh, I thought he doesn't have Facebook
No, on his email you can do the email, and then there's also a Facebook for their for the whole like
for
patristic
the Lord
faith.
of Spirits. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. You can send it to that too. Sorry.
Um. Did you ever see the episode where they were talking about the falls of the angels? Because a lot of people don't know this. Even some Orthodox don't know this, but like while in the West we're sort of accustomed to the story of like a single primordial angelic rebellion, kind of in the beginning at some
Hmm.
point that happened off screen. Um, for a lot of the early church, but even before the church, like in Second Temple Judaism, it was sort of widely held that there wasn't one fall of the angels. There was something like three of them.
Hmm.
Um,
No, three
so I don't.
falls of man, five falls of angels.
What were the? I'm trying to remember what all five falls were. Because because
There's.
because I know for the angels, I know there's a primordial fall of Satan and his first wave of angels, and then there's the fall of the Watchers of Genesis 6,
Hmm.
and then there's the fall of the angels who were put over the nations after the Tower of Babel. Those are the three that
Hmm.
I know of. What were the other ones?
Um, that's a good question. I only remember. I actually don't know. I only remember that
I don't either.
Father Stephen said there was five,
Oh, okay.
but
But
I
yeah,
don't
like
know. I because you're right. I only know of those three.
yeah, but yeah, so it's those three because I feel like well, okay, what happened is that by the time you get to Augustine, especially because Genesis 6 is read in the in the with the whole rabbinic Sethite
Hmm.
interpretation. Um, the second fall sort of falls out, pun intended, falls out of favor. Um, and then the third fall is sort of ambiguous, like it sort of just gets forgotten about.
Hmm.
Um, and then here's something that I was sort of disappointed about because the Syriac tradition also also has like the Sethite view. Like basically by the time you get to like Saint Ephrem, he's going with the Sethite view. And I'm like, okay, why is that? And then much to my chagrin, the Syriac Bible, which is called the Peshitta, is translated from sort of a Proto-Masoretic text.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah, so when we get to Deuteronomy 33, God apportioned the nations according to the number of the children of Israel, not the sons of God
Oh, yuck,
or the
man.
angels of
That's
God.
terrible.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what's. Oh, go ahead.
I noticed a sort of a correlation between I noticed a correlation between how Deuteronomy 32, 8, and 9 are translated in any given church tradition and how that church tradition understands the fall of the angels.
Yeah.
um, the because in the what sort of became the norm in the Roman Catholic tradition was the later scholastic understanding, which is that both humans and angels, when they were created respectively, sort of had a probation period of
Mhm.
testing. And so the angels that would fall ended up falling, but the angels that remained loyal were then rewarded with the beatific vision. So basically, the idea is that like even angels didn't have like the full presence of God in the beginning. Um, and then once the good angels got the beatific vision, they could no longer fall because it's impossible to fall when you're in the full unmitigated presence of God. Um, the Syriac tradition is somewhat similar, but not as like metaphysically emphasized, more just narratively, which is basically like, and you see this in Saint Ephrem and the other Syriac fathers. Um, which is that like after the initial wave of angels fell, um, and it became clear like what fate was. Um, the remaining loyal angels saw their fate, and so like that initial punishment then made it so that no other angels would ever think about falling
Right.
or rebelling. Um, so it's sort of similar to the scholastic one, but not like metaphysically like grounded in Aristotelian ideas. um,
Right.
but the here's where, because in many ways, which it makes me sad, because in many ways the Syriac tradition is the most Jewish, you could say, like the most uh, Jewish in its understanding. It uses the most sort of Old Testament adjacent language. For example, instead of using Hades, they say Sheol. Um,
Right.
and they have like they've sort of subconsciously preserved the understanding of of the creation as like a cosmic temple, and Adam as sort of like
Mhm.
the lordly image, like like sort of God's living idol. um but on this one thing, like they unfortunately, and I get it, because I think by the time you get to Saint Augustine in the West and Saint Ephrem in Mesopotamia, you a lot of things have sort of been lost to memory.
Right.
So what ends up happening is they ask like, okay, well, we know angels are disembodied beings. We know they can't have sex and procreate with humans. So the angelic understanding of Genesis 6 can't be true. So they go for the Sethite interpretation. um,
Right.
but we actually know now, thanks to archaeology, what was most likely going on, which is essentially, there was a long story short, there was sort of a demonic sex ritual that was practiced by
Exactly.
Mesopotamian kings, where the king would invite would ritually induce the deity to possess him, and he would then, in that possessed state, have sex with the temple prostitute, and so the resulting offspring was then like consecrated to that deity,
Exactly.
and those offspring were essentially the Nephilim. They weren't
Right.
they weren't human angel hybrids or any weird shit like that. They were just like demonically consecrated humans.
Exactly. Well, I mean, um, they were demonically created because it was a demonic sex ritual. Which, by the way, fun fact, that ritual still exists in Japan. They've just removed a lot of the sexual elements from it.
Yeah.
A lot of the sexual elements.
Variants of it existed throughout the ancient world.
Exactly.
But yeah, but like in terms of ontology, the offspring are fully human.
Right.
Like
Yeah, like
you can't have
biologically,
like
if you
human
did
angel offspring.
right, if you
Yeah.
did like a paternity test, it would come back as being the kings. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
No, it's like you're gonna be 1/3 angel.
Well, you know what's funny is that Gilgamesh is said to be 2/3 divine
And 1/3
because his
human.
dad
Yeah.
was a king, a Mesopotamian king, but also was possessed by their god. So the king was a god, and then the god that was possessing him was a god. So he's called 2/3 divine because he was conceived in one of these rituals.
Yeah, and you remember the I don't know if Thanasi remembers the story of like in I can't remember which, I think it's in Numbers or something, but it mentions like the bed of
Mm-hmm.
Og of Bashan, uh and how it like how the number of cubits would add up to like 15 feet. It's like
Right.
a 15-foot long bed made cast of iron, right? In Mesopotamian texts, it's mentioned that in their temples there would be iron beds in their ziggurats
Right.
that pretty much match the proportions of Og's bed in the Torah.
Exactly.
And it's in those big beds that they would do the demonic sex thing.
Right. So it's a reference to this very ritual.
You'll have to go back
Yeah,
and read it again.
yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. I was just saying I have to go back and I'll have to look at numbers again. I read so much stuff back with seminary and just on my own. It's Kevin, you're probably the same way. It's just like, oh gosh.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Hey,
Um,
Tennessee, I also wanted to ask you though, I wanted to ask you about when you first became Orthodox and there was like you were telling me about this weird like pseudo monastery that was kind of I don't know. So I wanted to hear more about that story too.
Yeah, that's a oh gosh. Uh, so man, that's kind of one I wanted to keep off live, uh,
Oh, okay, no worries. We don't have to talk
but
about
I
it.
just don't want to drop names or anything like that, and just kind of let the bed, let it lay dead. But this is it's an old Calendars monastery. Well, it was a monastery that was originally a monastery. They left, became old Calendarists, and now they're just going haywire, doing whatever they want. Just quote unquote, they believe they're the Palestinian Orthodox is. So yeah, that's
Got you.
yeah,
Got
yeah,
you. Okay.
yeah. So
No
yeah,
worries. We don't have to talk about that.
they had a big synod about it, things that were happening, and like it was bad, man. It really was, and I think they're still tricking young guys into believing that they're true, making the monks very fastly, making the priests very
That's
fastly,
terrible.
and I mean, it's just yeah, it was scary. I mean, I didn't really understand what old calendars really was. I've always believed that Orthodox is Orthodox. Rokor, you're Greek, you're Georgian, you're whatever you mean, you're Orthodox. But then after
Exactly.
I always thought an old calendars was they went by the old calendar like the Rokor. But no, it's a crazy sect. They're nuts. Yeah, you got like what's his name, Gregory Denver, them kind of guys. Like that's just making bishops by himself and saying he's the one true church, and there's only like what, like 50 of them or something like that, even if that.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah,
Anyway, go ahead, Sako. It sounded like you started to say something, and I thought
Uh,
that I just
oh,
thought that was an
uh,
interesting part of the
no
story. But
worries.
if he doesn't want to talk about it on live, it's okay.
Oh no, just wow. So they're essentially like the Orthodox equivalent of Sedevacantists almost.
so what they're doing though, man, is so you'll have, well, sorry to jump in.
No, go ahead.
So you'll have these guys that quote unquote sometimes are bishops within the church. They really are. And then they want to be like a pope. They want to be the head honcho. They want to do this, they want to do that, and not agree upon the church as equals with each other. They want to be the head of the honcho, right? Kind of quote the bishop that we was with, that we didn't really know what was going on. And all of a sudden this new bishop guy comes in and I'm like, well, what's going on here? And then my brother's like, yeah, this is bad. We have to get out. We have to go home. And that's what happened. It was just the monastery left, joined this old Calendris guy that was once upon a time a bishop with Rocor. Or actually, he started out, he was a cardinal with the Catholic Church, left there, became a bishop with Rocor, then left and started his own thing. And then, yeah, so now I think it's quote unquote like the Palestinian Greek Orthodox Church, or one of those crazy things like that. Yeah, it's insane, Kevin. You know the story, Kevin. It's just it's pretty crazy, man. The stuff that they were doing is just,
Yeah, totally wild.
yeah.
It's totally wild, but yeah.
And I pray, and if anybody is, I mean, if people are watching this and you're newly coming in, be careful. Really ask, who are you with? Who are you affiliated with? And and that's the thing too. You have this big flood of Orthodox, all these converts wanting to come in, and I think these old counters are trying to like scoop them up and just trick them and manipulate them, give them bad fruit, poison them, that kind of thing.
Right.
So it's just scary, man. Just pray. I mean, for real, pray for them. It's just, and I thank God that I seen it. I got away from it, and even when I got out of it, I still had that mentality that they were kind of right at first. I was like, well, but it was just I was being demonically possessed.
Right.
And over time, my parents stuck by me. They helped me. They got me, got my head back in right order and got me back on my feet.
Good. Praise God.
Yeah.
Praise God.
Yeah, people gotta watch out for like sort of cults of single issue things, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
like the calendar, it's like, okay, yes, I get the sentiment, but it's like at the same time, if the church has ruled that it's okay to be on the new calendar, then making a big stink about the calendar is really not. uh, It's
Right.
similar. It's similar to how like Protestant sects are formed because of a single issue, like speaking in tongues. Speaking in tongues is a big thing in my opinion, and people neglect it. So I'm going to start a new thing that focuses heavily on speaking in tongues. Like,
Right. Exactly. Well, the other, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's a very Protestant mindset to say, I'm not going to submit to the church. I'm going to do whatever I want because
yeah,
this is what I think is what's right or whatever. It's like, okay, but who gave you the authority to bind and loose?
right.
Yeah, you're literally becoming the Catholic Church, but your own sect, kind of like you're leaving the church,
Exactly.
starting your own thing, and saying, "Well, I have true apostolic succession." So, well, no, you don't. You left the church. You most likely
Exactly.
probably got defrocked, so you lost you lost your apostolic succession. It's like you're not going to bear good fruit,
Exactly.
and it's scary, man. It really is. I mean, it's like I'll send you some stuff, Kevin, and maybe I'll do a live and we'll talk about it. But
It's very easy to fall into the temptation of very based, very red pilled.
And a lot of these kids, they don't know it, man. They just, oh, you're an Orthodox bishop. Oh, cool. Let me join the church. I mean, now it's like,
Right.
oh, well, you're going to be this, this, and that. It's like, yeah, you mean,
Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't remember if you were there that day. I feel like you were, but I might be misremembering. But anyway, there was a guy who joined one of my live streams over on TikTok, and he was talking about how he kept saying that, well, we're part of this irregular thing, and then the more I talked to him, the more I was like, wait, what do you mean by an irregular thing? And it turns out that he's claiming to be Orthodox, but in reality he's part of some weird, like, he's claiming to be quote unquote Western Rite Orthodox, but then he's not. He's part of some weird cult following some pseudo bishop who's like giving communion to Lutherans and crap.
yeah. And that's so many out there now, too. I mean, there's so many quote unquote old calendars groups. I think, what do you think? Like 15 of them?
Oh, yeah. It's
And that's in
weird.
America. Then in Greece, I heard it's bad. In Greece, it's really bad. They're everywhere.
Yeah, it's just weird.
It's really scary, man. It really is. And you have these people that search and they don't know, and it's like they join a church and they think that they're joining the true church.
Right.
Because now you can get on online and, like, quote unquote, here's a bishop, here's a bishop, here's a bishop. It's like, I mean, there's like 10 bishops on Facebook that quote that they're the true church, and they're an old calendars group.
Exactly. Well, and this guy's not even doing, the guy I'm talking about isn't even doing old calendar. He's doing some kind of weird, like, Western Rite liturgy, but then he's doing it's just bizarre, man. There's so many of these groups, and they want to be quote unquote Orthodox because they want to be able to say they're Orthodox, and they want to be able to, have the sort of authority of Orthodoxy, but they don't want to actually do the Orthodox things. They don't want to actually live in an Orthodox way, and that's the problem.
Exactly. You got to be willing to, and I think a lot of people, and I did it myself too. A lot of people try to have the church conform to them, and them not church. It's like, somebody goes to confession and your priest's like, hey, Thanasi, you need to figure this out. Well, it's like, well, who are you to tell me that? It's like, well, you need to understand, you need to follow these obediences. You look at it like, God is speaking through him to you to help you.
That's right.
Direction. It's like, we always want to be the controller. We actually make ourselves like a god.
That's right.
I'm going to control this. I'm going to do this. It's like, well,
exactly.
The church is structured to help you to try to somehow reach theosis, to prep us for the kingdom of heaven. You mean, it's like, that's what this is all about. It's preparatory. So, I don't know. Sorry.
No, exactly. You're spot on.
Yeah, it's that I think it's very this is why, like, one of the ways that I test, like, when I'm talking to, like, Protestants and so on, right? One of the things that I test before I go forward with any conversations is I ask them, okay, what evidence, because I know they want it from the Bible, right? What biblical evidence that, if presented to you, will be the thing that makes you say, okay, maybe the Orthodox Church is onto something, or maybe they're right? And if they're genuinely open-minded and they're seeking, they'll give me something, right? And I'll be like, okay, cool, let's talk about that, and then I'll make my biblical case. But if they say, like, oh no, I'm convinced, there's I don't need any kind of evidence, or at that point it's like, okay, then there's nothing I can say or do. You're just in open rebellion.
Right. Exactly.
And even evidence sometimes isn't enough. It's like, like Kevin, I give you props, buddy, for doing what you did with Matt Slick, because when you debated him, I just know from listening to the guy, that is almost like spinning your wheel around and around and around. Like that Matt Slick will just keep, man, gosh. Hey buddy, you got it, buddy. You debated the debates, man, for real.
That's right. Well, I mean, the way I look at it is like, yeah, he's annoying, but at the same time, it's good. First of all, it's good for us to be able to have patience with somebody and
Yeah.
love our enemies. But it's also good for, whatever it does with him, but his audience, like, it's good for his audience just to be called to repentance and at least given a chance to hear the truth. What they do with that is up to them, but at least now they've heard.
Yeah. Because it's scary, man. Like you said, like Socrates, it's like you ask him, how do you know what you know, and how do you know it's true? That was always my go-to question for anybody. And then it's like, well, just because the Bible says this is that doesn't matter. How do you even know the Bible's true? Where do you even get your knowledge from the Bible from? Now,
right.
Something. Now we have a basis where we can start from.
Exactly.
Right. Well, and I also say, like, okay, be charitable with me, like I'm being charitable with you.
Yep.
Assume that both of us care about the Bible just as much, and that both of us are reading the same Bible, and but we're coming to different conclusions. So then, I always say, like, how do I know that your conclusion is correct?
Yep.
Right.
Like we're both reading, because I'll say, like, I'll focus on issues that are very biblically grounded, right? And I'll be like, okay, we're both reading the same Bible, so how do you know that you're right and I'm wrong? And they'll usually go to exegesis. Well, it's exegesis because you have to read the Bible carefully and interpret scripture through other scripture and so on and so forth. I'm like, okay, but other people do that and they come to different conclusions than you. So how do you know yours is
That's
right?
right.
Exactly. That's
like why should I believe you? Who are you?
Yeah, that's why there's 45,000 different Christian denominations in, I think, America alone now.
That's right. Exactly.
And it's like, I would even if you grant somebody scripture, you could do this on purpose. And I mean, I'm not saying it's a good thing to do, but like, say we go to Ephesians, right? And we says, Ephesians says you're saved by faith alone.
Mm-hmm.
What does that even mean? What about when he says your faith without works is dead? Is it contradicting itself?
That's right.
Oh, you need to know what Ephesians is saying. Who is saying? Paul saying in Ephesians that faith alone is by baptism. You mean, how do we know that? Through the church.
Exactly.
Right. Well, and also it doesn't say that you're saved by faith alone.
Right. It doesn't say.
That's the hilarious thing, that the one time the words faith alone appear in scripture is a refutation of the idea of faith alone.
Exactly.
And that's the thing too. People, a lot of the saints say a bad thing that happened was when the printing press was invented and they printed the Bible in mass production.
That's right.
It's like they should say you need to read you should read the church fathers before you even think about touching the Bible.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then too is like, even reading the church fathers, though, it's like I was talking to a guy a couple months ago, and he was talking about how he read St. Basil the Great and say, oh, well, St. Basil the Great actually is like, he's actually teaching that, feminism or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so here's the problem, though, is how long have you even been Orthodox? And he was like, well, I'm a catechumen or whatever. I'm like, okay, see, this is the problem, is you're going to St. Basil the Great and you want to jump right to Basil the Great, but you want to ignore everything that leads up to that, right? St. Ignatius, St. Irenaeus, St. Polycarp. It's like, build a foundation. Don't just jump straight to... Yeah, and this is one of the problems with Protestants reading Augustine, too. It's like, oh, well, I read Augustine, so I know what the fathers say. No, you don't.
No, and
You've
that's why
read one father who you don't even know anything about what he's saying, because the reality is you should have read Polycarp, you should have read Irenaeus, you should have read all of these, fathers, and then touch Augustine, then touch Saint Basil, then because then you're ready, because that's how the church received these things.
Right.
And so don't just go to one church father and be like, oh, well, this church father who comes like 800 years later says this thing,
Yep.
and he's quoted by an ecumenical council, so therefore he's right. Well, no, what is he quoted by an ecumenical council about? Oh, not this issue. He's quoted about, like St. Basil, his Trinitarian theology is the Trinitarian theology of the church. But that doesn't mean that, his view of gender roles is therefore inspired by God. Like, we need to actually still practice discernment even with the fathers, and you need to be practicing, wisdom and reading the fathers in their proper order, not just going to the most complicated, the most complex, the most intense fathers and starting there.
I've heard people like, oh, I'm going to read Maximus Confessor. I said, good luck. No, you should not. Or even St. John Chrysostom. I'm like, you're not going to understand what he's saying. You got to stop.
Right.
It's like, slow down, pump your brakes. I mean, it's like,
exactly.
First,
Read-
your priest and have him something.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
a good place to start would be, for most people, would be the Didache.
Yeah, exactly. Start with the Didache.
Yeah.
That's like basically the earliest catechism of the church. Like,
Right.
Well, then that's why Father Joseph Lucas came out with this book, How to Even Read the Church Fathers.
Right.
It's like you said, Kev, like people jump in, it's like, well, I'm going to read this, I'm going to read that. It's like, just slow down for a minute. Just slow down. I mean, figure out even what the boundaries of the church even is before you start trying to conquer the world. And I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Or people will be like, I'm reading the church fathers, and then I'm like, okay, who are you reading? Origen. Yeah. I'm like, so you're not reading the fathers then?
Yeah, it's like, of course, Origen had good writings, but he's not a church father. I mean, he was condemned.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he believed in like reincarnation and the pre-existence of souls.
Yeah, exactly. He believed all kinds of crazy stuff.
But Origen's writing on numbers is phenomenal. It's beautiful. We use
right.
it. I mean, it's amazing. But it is. You mean, and then you got Protestants that'll try to contradict it, like we was talking about the other day with Saint Cyril. Like, oh, well, Saint Cyril says this. Well, not really. You're misinterpreting what he's even saying about the Trinity.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then Sako, I didn't even tell you about that. There was a guy who came on my live stream, and Thanasi was there, and this guy was talking about Saint Cyril of Alexandria and said that he taught the Filioque.
Oh, that was a fun one.
Hell no to the no, hell to the no. And I say that as the most Cyrilline person in the room right now.
Right?
Then
You're like, no.
Then that Lance guy about the co-redemptrix thing. I was like, dude, you're using that's not a word. I was like, that is a word concept follow. Yes, you are. That's what you're doing. He's like, well, Pope didn't say this. I was like, man, I have a whole letter right here that says he told you not to say it no more. So,
right, exactly.
Kevin and I actually did an episode earlier about the papacy, and we basically, it was about a passage in Isaiah 22 that, if it had patristic support, would actually be the knockdown, like drag out argument for the papacy. It would be enough to like possibly make me Catholic right there on the spot. But where it fails is because it's not patristically attested.
Exactly. Not a single church father thought that this was talking about the papacy. So
or even the episcopate.
Right. So it's like, okay. Yeah, Isaiah 22.
Yeah, because the reason it's so perfect is because it essentially describes the role of the royal vizier in the
Mhm.
Davidic kingdom, and it, you know, I'm not for the sake of the audience, I'm not going to rehash the whole thing.
You guys can
But
watch that.
yeah, but long story short, you know, this royal vizier was like, um, you know, he had the keys to the royal house, and he could basically, you know, he had the authority or the prerogative to run the kingdom while the king was away on business,
Mhm.
until he returned, and he was given like keys of authority. Um, and as scripture says, whatever he will open, uh, none will shut, and whatever he shuts, none will open. So I was saying, we were basically saying like this is the perfect place that if any of the fathers believed in the papacy as understood by Roman Catholics, like the Vatican I papacy, this would be the passage to argue for it. Because the passages about Peter are ambiguous. The most that you can get out of those is okay, Peter was the head of the apostles. But it's a big jump, uh, from that to Peter had unilateral authority over all the apostles and the whole church.
And
And
that
then
this somehow is Rome.
yeah, because like Peter's first see that he started was Antioch, not Rome. So why isn't Antioch the universal head of the church? Right.
Right.
So but here there's like, if people were reading it that way, it's it would be,
You guys still there?
sorry, I thought I went out for a second.
I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here. So yeah, so I was saying like if that was the passage that was being used by the fathers, in some way relating it to Peter or, you know, the bishop of Rome, that would have been like a very strong patristic argument for the papacy. But nobody, the fact that no church father, not even the Latin ones, not even a single pope used it,
Right.
indicates to me that they probably, you know, didn't see their role as the Vatican I papacy.
Exactly. Exactly. We even read Leo the Great's commentary on that passage, and it was crazy because it was like he was nowhere even close to any concept of trying to use the king's vizier to argue for anything even remotely regarding the papacy.
Yeah, not even anything ecclesiastical.
Here you go.
Exactly.
This is the papalism. Seen that? You got that on the papalism?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the best thing too, man. Like, you know, to really understand them, you mean kind of, I guess, go to the worldview and then kind of go from there. You mean,
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Well, nice. Nice. Well, um, let's see. Thanasi, did you have anything else you wanted to kind of share with people as far as your story or as far as oh, where'd he go? I guess not. I guess that answers my question. No, I'm just
Oh
playing.
boy.
Hey Sako,
Yeah.
next week are you okay with it if we do the afternoon, like starting around the same time, like around 3 my time?
Yeah, I'll go to bed early. Um do you think Tanasi's internet disconnected or something, or
Probably. But It's okay. Oh, there he is. He's back.
I'm sorry, I did not mean to do that, man.
No, you're okay.
I
You're
sprayed the
good.
butt. Sorry. No, man. I hope I did all right for this. You mean so? It's my
Yeah,
first
absolutely.
time
You
doing
did
live,
great.
so.
I loved it.
But yeah,
I
if
loved
you
it.
want, you and I will. Gonna eat some food and stuff. You and I will get together, Kevin, do a few more things, and we'll get rolling on topics
Sure.
and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Thanasi is our plan. Our goal is for us to be able to get back together on here and talk about basically Thanasi is studying Roman Catholicism and studying church history as it pertains to Roman Catholicism. So he's going to help really strengthen our apologetics with regards to Rome and with regards to kind of with regards to Roman Catholicism and why we're Orthodox. And then, like I said, next week, Sacco and I are going to be meeting in the afternoon. Well, for me, it's the afternoon. For him, it's like the middle of the night. So I feel bad for that. But we usually do the morning, but I have to take my daughter to an appointment next week in the morning. So, which I'm excited about because I love taking her places, but it means that I need to work it out with Sacco. So we'll see you guys next week in the afternoon, and then also be sure to check out tomorrow. We have our book club going through Michael Garton's Early Icons. So be there for that. Our book club. Let's see, what are we on? We're about halfway through chapter 2, I want to say. Maybe chapter 3? No, we're about halfway through chapter 2. And we're examining the biblical and particularly the Old Testament case for iconodulia. And so that'll be tomorrow. And also, of course, over on TikTok, I'll be doing my usual live streams there as well. So lots to look forward to. Go ahead, Sacco.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, is it okay? I don't know how this works compared to Zoom. Is there a way? Because I wanted to show Thanasi something, but after we were done, is there a way to show it to him after we're done recording?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll just hit end stream, and then I think it'll let us stay on. So,
okay.
So God bless you guys. Share this with your friends so that they too can be freed indeed.
Thanks, Brad.
And as always, God bless you guys. I'm praying for you.